we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So,
in the United States?
In the United States, on all over the world. But from 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Solari Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. And then we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess. This is totally a guess of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170 with a transportation network connecting them.
And what would be the purpose?
The purpose, if you thought you were going to get a near extinction event, so there, to me, there are two purposes. You have so many activities going on that you need to keep secret, that you're basically building the capacity to, for example, if you're doing a secret space program, you need to platform it from, things that can't be seen. But I think if you're worried about a near extinction event, that's...
So I know nothing about this other than my only window into it. I knew a contractor who worked on one in Washington, in the city of Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I remember him telling me about a power box, like a transformer box on Constitution Avenue that he told me, because he worked on it personally, was actually the exit, the egress from the White House. That was kind of by vehicle. I thought that was, I was like, really? He goes, oh yeah, no, I installed it, I know. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy that in the middle of this big city where I live, I was on Constitution Avenue every day, that you could build something like that without me knowing it. Under the VP's house at the Naval Observatory, same thing. I think most people know that. Next to my brother's house on Macomb Street in D.C. So but that's, I always thought that was like preparation for nuclear war. Like, I didn't really think about it that much.
Some of it is, yeah. It's preparation for catastrophe.
So, but you think that there are facilities like that in other places outside D.C.?
Oh, yeah. So if you're interested, we have a great interview. I did an interview of Richard Dolan on underground bases on the Solari Report, and it's sort of an introduction to the topic, and it's based on a lot of the research of a guy named Richard Souter, who is very hard to interview. So Richard kind of went through all the material. And clearly it's... I don't know if you ever saw, Washington Post did a project, it was in 2010 or 12, called Top Secret America. And one of the reporters, it was a team of 2 reporters, one of them put together a database of all the different top secret installations that had been built in the country, including since the Patriot Act. And what you saw was just this explosion of money in building so many both underground and above ground facilities.
Just as a theological matter, I hate to say this, but I think it's true. If you're building a lot underground, you're on the wrong side. I don't think that's a good sign.
So I'll tell you a very funny...
right? Let's just the obvious first. That's not good.
So I'll tell you a very funny story. So after I left the administration, after I left the Bush administration, I went on the board of Sallie Mae. And I'm on the board of Sallie Mae, and after one of the first meetings, there was a wonderful...
Stop. You've been talking about underground bases and colonizing space, and you clearly seem totally sane, but I'm sure some people are like, well, she's obviously crazy. I should have set the stage at the beginning with your biography, like you're as mainstream, you're on the board of Sallie Mae. Sallie Mae, you're a partner at Dillon Read. It's like,
right,
you're not just like on the internet. Right. I'm sorry. I just want to say that. I just want to say that. This is like a former high-level federal official who's on the board of Sallie Mae and a partner at Dillon Read. Okay. Just want to say that out loud.
Okay. So I'm on the board, and there was a lovely chairman, a really lovely guy. And he comes up, he says, can I talk to you after the meeting? And I said, sure. And he pulls out this big glossy brochure for the Council on Foreign Relations. And he said, the time has come for you to join. And he said, we want you to ask Nick Brady, to sponsor you. And I said to him, Sam, I just don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. And he looked shocked and he said, you don't understand. If you don't do this, you're out forever. And just at that moment, it's these moments when things come to you. I saw in my mind, I'm very pictorial, I saw in my mind a locker in the underground base, and they were taking my name off of the locker. And I thought, if it comes to that, I'll take my chances upstairs with the hoi polloi.
Yeah, me too.
And I said, but it's at the deepest root, it's a spiritual and cultural question.
I totally agree. Who's cowering underground, like in the dark places? No.
To me, there's nothing wrong with going into a bunker if they're bombing. Okay,
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. But I really didn't want to be with all of them in a concentrated space. It was like, no, I'd rather.
And you know them. You're not guessing at this. Like, you know a lot of these people.
I know a lot of these people, and the one thing I will have to say, if there's anything I learned from my history, the problem is not they are bad and we are good. That's not how this works. The evil and the good is threaded at every level of society, every community, every enterprise. It doesn't work like that.
Spring and summer are here. That's good news. It means you get to go outside and frolic in the sunshine. Unfortunately, there's a downside. Burglars are psyched for the longer days. It means fewer people are home, and that gives them more chances to break in and steal your stuff. This is not our imagination. FBI crime data backs it up. More daylight means more burglaries. That's bad. But there is a solution. You can leave your house feeling secure with SimpliSafe. This is a really cool idea. Millions of Americans use this. It's the highest standard in home security. You get peace of mind every time you leave. So a traditional burglar alarm system, of the kind maybe you already have, only sets off when someone has already broken into your house. That's not good. Smashed a window, come through the basement door, whatever. SimpliSafe prevents intrusions before they happen. It does it with AI-powered cameras and live professional agents monitoring. It leaves nothing to chance. Plans for SimpliSafe start around $1 per day, so it's not crazy expensive at all. Visit SimpliSafe, that's SIMPLI safe.com/Tucker, and get 50% off a new system with professional monitoring. You get your first month for free. That's SimpliSafe.com/Tucker. There is no safe like SimpliSafe.
Well, I'm not especially good. I know that. I know that for a fact. So
I think you're pretty good.
Yeah, but of course, you know more about yourself than anyone else does, and I know that what a flawed person I am. So I'll never declare myself on I'll never say God's on my side. I'll say I want to be on God's side, but
exactly.
It's an open question.
Well, it's a journey. It's never over.
Right.
And we're not perfect, and you try every day to do as good as you can. And it's like baseball. You get some hits some days, and some days you strike out.
So, but you believe that there's a whole constellation of underground bases built by the U.S. government in the United States. Like, that fact alone, just the physical infrastructure of it, because normally we talk about what are they doing?
It's enormously expensive.
Well, it's unbelievable. And it raises lots of practical questions. How do you ventilate them? What about food and water supply?
Where's the energy? Are we using breakthrough energy, or?
Where's the energy come?
Right. Because I'm sure that we have the ability to produce breakthrough energy at very low cost. If you go back.
Why are you sure of that?
My Dutch partners, I met because they were doing a series of conferences on breakthrough energy. And they brought together breakthrough energy inventors from around the world. And, you can see all the videos up on the internet, and really went through the history from Tesla on of different inventors who have discovered and claimed different innovations with breakthrough energy. And I'm convinced that this energy exists. And I'm also convinced, if you look at a lot of the really fast ships, flying around the planet, that they're not using classical electricity.
They're not using.
Right. So
they're not running on diesel.
Right. Exactly. Right. So.
Yeah. So we know that I'm sorry I get so caught up in the details, but we know that there are quite a number of large underground bases in the United States. We can state that as fact.
Right.
And then the question becomes, of course, like if they're connected to the power grid, if they're pulling off just a conventional natural gas electricity generation station, you could know that and measure it, but you think they have independent energy sources. Of course they do.
So one of the questions I have that I think is really important is when you look at breakthrough energy, if you were running the planet, so I have this nickname for the committee at the top, Mr. Global. If you were Mr. Global, you would not want to implement breakthrough energy on a widespread basis for a variety of reasons, one of which is everybody got a hold of it and weaponized it. It could be very dangerous.
Why?
My understanding is that literally one small group of people could take this, with no sovereign powers or, just organized crime and use it in a way that could weaponize it and make it very dangerous. I'm not a scientist. I don't really understand.
Right, but energy by definition is dangerous. Gasoline's dangerous.
Right.
Right, electricity is dangerous. Of course, nuclear energy is dangerous.
Right, but if you're the risk manager and you're in charge of managing the planet, this has more disruption capability, both weaponization, economic. Suddenly everybody's free to do whatever they want, and so they're much harder to control. So if you're Mr. Global and you have the capacity to dramatically lower the energy cost, the other danger is then population skyrockets, and you're concerned about that. So if you're Mr. Global and you're worried about what will happen if you bring this technology out, it's very convenient to get complete control. If you don't trust the population to be environmentally responsible or politically responsible, then complete control.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.